this is how you have to start. Red Heat is an action detective thriller with action beyond belief. Humor up and down, left and right.
Chicago cop never relinquishes his weapon. Here.
And the story, the suspense, it is breathtaking.
Is Ivan Danko, the toughest cop in Moscow. James Belushi is Art Ridzik, a Chicago detective who breaks all the rules. Together, they team up to battle Russia's deadliest criminal, a drug dealer who's smuggling cocaine from the Windy City across the Iron Curtain.
The case is very simple. The bad guy, Victor, killed Danko's partner and then escaped from Russia. And so Arnold, the Danko character, comes to the United States to bring him back to Russia. And I'm the escort. I have to pick him up at the airport. You know, I don't really like it. I don't like this duty. I don't like Russians. They're communists.
You hungry?
No.
Thirsty?
No. I hate to break up this romance, but I'm parked in a red zone. No offense.
When I come to this country as a Soviet police officer, I am being hooked up with supposedly the worst cop of Chicago, the biggest screw-up.
He thinks he's going to find Victor.
Oh, that's cute. Look, you better keep an eye on him.
Why me?
Because I said so.
Look, our relationship starts off as adversaries. I don't like him. I don't think he likes anything. All he likes is to get Victor.
You did not make it, Victor.
Hello, Vanya.
Actor Edo Ross plays the evil Victor Rusta.
Back off, Captain. Chicago gets him first.
Victor's a great character. He's a villain, and he knows his purpose. And whoever gets in his way, he just walks right over them. Doesn't even care. Guy's great. Isn't he great?
Scene 12, Queen, take one, camera marker. Get back, please.
To film the Russian scenes in Red Heat, director Walter Hill traveled with cast and crew behind the Iron Curtain. In the spirit of Glasnost, the Soviet government allowed the filmmakers to shoot in Red Square. Schwarzenegger attracted a massive crowd, fans who knew him through black market videos.
There was a tremendous amount of excitement in Moscow, not only amongst the press, but amongst the youth. It was wild, as a matter of fact, to arrive there and to have hundreds of kids try to talk to us and communicate with us and hunt us down for autographs and so on. And I had no idea that we had this kind of popularity there.
In the film, Danko was on his own turf when chasing Victor through the streets of Moscow. When the case brings him to Chicago, he faces a rude cultural awakening at the hands of Art Ridzik.
I mean, basically, he makes fun at me.
Yeah.
All the way through the film.
All the way through the film. And it's great when there's a language, a cultural barrier. They have no idea that you're making fun of them. What, do you retire your uniform?
I now work undercover.
Undercover? You look like Gumby.
He calls me Gumby.
Yeah, you're gonna fit right in.
When Victor Rusta comes to Chicago, he sets up his own network of allies. Gina Gershon plays Kat Manzetti, the woman he marries to gain entry into the United States.
She didn't realize this guy was a killer. She didn't realize this guy was corrupting all of Russia, with drugs, until basically it was too late.
I'm supposed to tell you that this is a truce arranged by somebody named Abdul.
You the hostage.
I'm out of here.
The Cleanheads are Victor's American drug connection, and they run their organization out of prison.
We shot outside of Chicago, about 90 miles in Joliet State Prison. in Illinois. It's the toughest prison in that state.
It is a very scary kind of a situation, especially when a warden comes to you and he says, I don't want you guys to wear jeans in here, so we can identify right away when there's a shootout who is a prisoner and who is not a prisoner. So, you know, Jim and I were looking at each other and said, this is going to be a fun place to shoot. Victor uses fake name, marries American to get travel visa to the United States.
Playing the most unlikely cop team in Chicago, Schwarzenegger and Belushi approached the physical aspect of their roles very differently.
The character I play is very lean, and I didn't want to really look that overly muscular, but much more trim, and to get a much more Russian look, much more bony in the face. So we talked about the idea of maybe losing 10 or 15 pounds for the film, and this is what I did.
You go in the car, I'll go get us something to eat. Don't worry, I'll get you something healthy, something from all 4 food groups: hamburger, french fries, coffee, and donuts. At the beginning of the film, I was actually about 10 pounds lighter. And when Arnold came, first thing he did is he looked me up and down and said, "You are too thin. I thought you were going to be this big, beefy Chicago cop." And ever since then, he's been slowly feeding me cookies. You know, every day at 3 o'clock when the cookies come out, he goes, "Jim, Jim."
He's an easy victim.
Oh, man.
Picture, lock it up. Turn, please.
For the fans of Schwarzenegger's previous action films, Red Heat offers the most exciting climax yet.
We have in this film a bus chase scene. It goes really literally through whole Chicago. It runs through fountains, it jumps over things, it goes through tunnels and smashes into cars.
It's very funny. This movie is very funny. You should stick to things that you're good at. You know, like knee dancing, training those cute little bears for the circus. Has a lot of action. It's got a great relationship. That's the core of the movie anyways, the relationship between Arnold and myself. Nice work, Gumby.
Thank you.
I didn't mean that.
I know. Пошли. Все вместе.
In the new action thriller Red Heat, Arnold Schwarzenegger plays a tough Moscow cop in pursuit of a ruthless killer. Local extras were recruited to provide background for many scenes.
There's one scene where we have a funeral. The faces in that funeral, the hardness that you see in those faces, the real Soviet look, that is something that you can never get over here in the United States.
It is in the spirit of glasnost that the Soviets allowed the filmmakers to shoot in Moscow. Schwarzenegger was also given the opportunity to travel through the city and meet the people.
I went to some discotheques to get an idea what that is like, and it was a great experience to see the differences between a Soviet discotheque and an American discotheque. I went to different bodybuilding gymnasiums, weightlifting gyms. I visited the famous weightlifting champion from the 60s, Yuri Vlasov. Really, I came back with great impressions of Moscow and the Soviet people.
It is this well-rounded view of Soviet life that Schwarzenegger drew upon in playing the role of Ivan Danko.
In most films that you see, Soviets are usually portrayed a very negative way. So I think this will be the first film where a Soviet will come off in a very, very good way and a heroic way.
Police Captain Ivan Danko came from behind the Iron Curtain.
Danko, you're welcome.
Sergeant Art Ridzik works the Chicago beat.
You look like Marvin Hagler to me. I lost money on Hagler!
Together, they team up to track down a deadly criminal on the streets of the Windy City. Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Belushi star in the new action thriller Red Heat.
I take care of this.
Danko's a real jokester. He's just a terrific, warm, friendly, mod haircut, slam dancer on his off hours. Now, how did you get that piece through customs?
Diplomatic immunity.
That restores my faith in airport security.
I am being hooked up with supposedly the worst cop of Chicago. The biggest screw-up. You try.
Where is the locker that this key opens?
Why you mama?
What do you say?
Go and kiss your mother's behind.
The contrast in characters was something both actors considered in physically preparing for the film.
At the beginning of the film, I was actually about 10 pounds lighter. And when Arnold came, the first thing he did is he looked me up and down and said, "You are too thin. I thought you were going to be this big, beefy Chicago cop." And ever since then, he's been slowly feeding me cookies. You know, every day at 3 o'clock when the cookies come out, he goes, "Jim! Jim!"
He's an easy victim.
Oh, man.
In the film, Danko decides to change his own look when he arrives in Chicago from Moscow.
Well, this uniform is okay. You know, it's the undercover uniform that he changes into, which is really spectacular. What, do you retire your uniform?
I now work undercover.
Undercover? You look like Gumby. Yeah, you're gonna fit right in.
I mean, basically, he makes fun at me
Yeah.
all the way through the film.
All the way through the film.
The clash in cultures is apparent, even in routine police business.
They have a different framework of rules. They don't have the Miranda Act. In this country, we try to protect the rights of individuals. It's called the Miranda Act, and it says that you can't even touch his ass.
I do not want to touch his ass. I want to make him talk.
I'm gonna handle this one, okay?
He tries to protect me not to break the law, and of course it never works.
And we want to ask you a couple questions about the Cleanheads. Capitalism works, right, Streak?
Cleanhead's got a monster deal going down. I told Gallagher, end of story.
Where is Victor? I take his head and smash it down on the table and almost break his whole face. And
like,
he says, "What are you doing? I told you." I said, "I did not touch his ass."
Danko and Ridzik disagree not only on police procedures, but also on other equally important issues, like weapons.
Well, this is a pretty big gun. You have yours?
Your gun, Captain! Now!
Soviet but Byron 9.2 millimeter is much bigger.
No, this is a Magnum 44, the most powerful handgun in the world. Come on, everyone knows the Magnum 44 is the big boy in the black. Why do you think Dirty Harry uses it?
Who is Dirty Harry?
In Red Heat, Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Belushi bridge the gap between East and West, and the future of law enforcement may never be the same.
You know what we call this? This is called chicken! You're not supposed to play with boxes!
You did not make it, Victor.
Hello, Vanya.
Back off, Captain. He killed a Chicago police officer. Chicago gets him first.
I have my orders.
Two cops from different cultures reluctantly team up to catch a killer in the new film Red Heat, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Belushi.
Take it, move!
As Captain Ivan Danko, Schwarzenegger plays a heroic Russian cop, one who doesn't fit the usual Soviet stereotype.
In most films that you see, Soviets are usually portrayed a very negative way, and in this film we don't get into the political situation at all. I play the hero. So I always want to make sure that when I play the hero that I play it in a positive way, and so I think this will be the first film where a Soviet will come off in a very, very good way and a heroic way.
James Belushi brings his own personal style to the role of Art Ridzik, an unpredictable cop in the Chicago force.
I always wanted to do a cop. I always wanted to do a Chicago street cop. Don't get nervous. I do this for a living. I like to blend my personality with the character's personality. You look like Marvin Hagler to me. I lost money on Hagler. So a lot of it's me. Just me.
For Belushi, a highlight of working on the film was shooting an action scene on the streets of Chicago.
I got to run down the middle of Randolph and LaSalle. It's a big intersection in the middle of Chicago. I got to run down the street, jump over a car, stand in the middle, and pull off 4 shots off a 44 Magnum. Right here in the city, you know, you get tickets for jaywalking.
On the other side of the globe, Schwarzenegger faced an even greater challenge in filming a fight scene in sub-zero temperatures.
We found a specific area in Austria where there was 6-7 foot snow, and we went there with our crew and shot there in 4 days. And that was quite an experience because I've really never done a fight scene in the snow where you slip around and where you freeze continuously.
It is with very different backgrounds that Danko and Ridzik joined forces in Chicago. Many cultural barriers come between them.
You know, in this country, we trust our partners.
What is important is to show the relationship, how two police officers break down all those barriers and they really get into a nice relationship, you know, although there is some competition there throughout the film.
Captain Danko, you are now the proud owner of the most powerful handgun in the world.
Soviet Potporin 9.2 millimeter is world's most powerful handgun.
Come on, everyone knows the Magnum 44 is the big boy in the black. Why do you think Dirty Harry uses?
Who is Dirty Harry?
In working together, Schwarzenegger and Belushi established their own brand of humor.
If you keep it real, the humor will come out of it. Because with comedy, you can really, if you get a little silly, then all the real stuff, you know, sounds like...
Ridzik, we must go now.
Excuse me.
In Red Heat, Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Belushi have found the perfect blend of action and comedy.
I take care of this.
I give up. This whole thing's very Russian.